Hi folks, this is Takota Coen here, and in this video I want to introduce you to one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's my butcher. His name is Valentine. I've known him for about 10 years now, and today I had the opportunity to sit down with him to ask him about what got him into the trade of butchering, why out of all the butchers I've used over the years, why his service and the quality of his work just stands out, bar none. We had a chance to actually tour his facility, so I'd like to I'll share some photos of how the animals are actually harvested on farm, and then when we do the walkthrough of his facility, you'll be able to see kind of the whole process. There's also a new part of his business that he started up that I'm super excited about. He's found a way to take a lot of the parts of the animals that most people don't eat. A lot of my customers actually do eat them, the organs, the bones, and the fat, but a lot of his other customers don't value that. So he's found a way to turn that into this incredible dog food product that both our German Shepherds have been enjoying and just thriving on. So we'll take a look at that. But most of all, I just wanted to introduce particularly my customers who've been getting pork and beef from us. If you've ever gotten pork and beef from us, I'd want to introduce you to someone who is responsible for probably 50% of the success that our farm has had. Valentine takes just absolute pride, and he brings so much respect and reverence to the animals on our farm whenever he's harvesting them, or as they're going through his shop, and that quality really shines through in our products. And so I've wanted to make a video like this for years, so you can see just an incredible human who's been working literally in this trade since he's been 8 years old. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to throw some links to his dog food business, as well as his butcher shop, if you're also looking for the best butcher in Alberta. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks for watching. Well, Valentine, this has been a long time coming. I've wanted to interview you for a couple of years now. So
really,
yeah. I always tell my customers that this guy's the best butcher in Alberta, and I'm just thrilled that we could finally have time to sit down, and I'd like to introduce you to all the people that have been enjoying your incredible products for so many years. So I guess to start off with, what was it that got you into butchering? Because you've been doing this for years.
Well, what's got me into butchering was my uncle. He was I was 8 years old, and he said, well, you could come and help clean the butcher shop and make some money. And so it was not like you wanted, it's just like, you're going to do that.
Yeah.
And you started, and the next thing is you get a knife, and start like that, and cut, stew, and stir fry and trim, and then next thing you know, you getting pretty good on it. And it's unusual, heard of, but you're 12 years old, and let's shoot your first pig, and and see how that all goes, because you do all the hard work, and it's like, well, you kind of get an interest in how will this feel, right?
Yeah.
And so and then 96 rolls in, 1996, and the big thing was there was not very many jobs in Switzerland.
Yeah.
I do really also, my other passion at the time, my dad was a truck driver. I wanted to become a truck driver or a mechanic, but there was just no jobs, and so I decided, well, let's become a butcher, and you can always do something afterwards. You have a degree. And become a butcher, did training for 3 years, so it was hard. It's not the regulations that are today. It was 60-hour work weeks, and you learn very, very fast. Very different to Canada. The guys I learned from, the oldest guy there was 75. That was the grandfather, and he would cut meat and show you how it's done.
Wow.
The one what did it the shorter did it for 22 years.
Wow.
So you learn from people who've done it for a long time.
Yeah.
Lots of them had OCD, so everything had to be in its place, and otherwise, there was just no otherwise. You just get yelled at it.
Yeah.
and so you learn to be precise. And two, I do always think it makes it easier, and it helps you in stressful situations to stay organized. And I think there is a big lock in that in Canada and the Canada work culture. I mean, they organize, but when stress comes in, it's like they forget everything what they're doing and just
Yeah.
And I see it all the time when I go to other businesses or deal with people that they're not. If they would learn that for a long time, they would deal easier with the stress.
Yeah.
What is also a big difference too. I mean, in it with 16, wanted to do something else. A friend of mine recommended to become a chef. Did my chef degree. Totally hated it.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you got your chef degree too.
I have a chef degree too.
Oh, wow.
Went to schooling for that for 2 years. Went to the army. Learned really to cook. Like the biggest gig I cooked for was 2,400 people, and I was in charge of the meat.
Wow.
So that was a lot of cookers on the go, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing I ever did.
And that was in the army.
In the army, yeah.
Wow.
And I got promoted for it too. I was very.
Okay, cool.
I had a lot of kudos on Monday morning because the thing with that many people is like, yeah, they kind of expect this. Some like they was eating in 8 different places, and lots of time some places had good meat and other ones had not so good meat.
Yeah.
And somebody went around and said everybody said the meat was good, so that was cool. That was something. So yeah, and then it's a big memory for me because I never before or after got a pallet full of meat, pushed it into the kitchen and started cooking. That was different. And then the thing too, I was cooking in a 600-liter pot. Like you could swim in it basically. Wow. And so it was, and you know, like I done it before, like normal meals I cooked in the army was for 250, but still for 250 people, you're not just like, you know, how everybody makes that idiot guy with the salt.
Oh,
like how do you
salt bay?
Yeah, how do you salt the streets of Red Deer?
Yeah.
Well, if you cook for 300-400 people, you just take a kg of salt and dump it in it because that little bit that's not going to do nothing.
No.
And I was always very good in like when the chefs from like the kitchen chefs would just do a little bit with the meat and it took them forever. I just like dump it in, get it done, like, and it was good, and I would order bones from the butcher in the army time and cook bras and all, like, just for the fun of it. And of course, if you was busy in the kitchen, you doesn't have to go to the field, so that was another big. I could keep myself very busy in the kitchen, so that wasn't.
So when did you move to Canada?
Let's better tell the whole story. So, as I was 24. I do like drinking and bars, and a friend of mine one day comes up to me and says, I'm going to go to Canada for 12 weeks and go to English school and then travel the country, and somebody wants to come, like he asked all of us. And I said, yeah, I should do something different. This bar story gets old, and no more desires to be here. Mm-hmm. And so we traveled, and of course I asked other butcher shops. There's plenty of Swiss butchers in Canada that went before me, and so to have a look on it, it's even at the time as I was 22. The first time I tried to buy a butcher shop in Switzerland, I was about 22, and it's just $1.2 million, and I could not imagine ever paying that back. So that was off the table. And so traveled through Canada. Went and visited a few butcher shops, and one of them gave me a job right away and sent me the work permit. And 6 months later, I was over here, started working. The craziest thing for me was I learned from very old guys. Everything was very precise. Come to Canada, and it's like, okay, this is like 1940, 1950 style butchering. This has not to do much with butchering. This has more to do with murdering. And quality of meat, it's like, if you have time, we look for quality. But if he doesn't have time, it doesn't really matter because, well, that's just the way it is around here. We have to do production, not nice stuff. So I was kind of.
Yeah, quantity, not quality.
Yeah, and I was bitter about that right to start with. Then to, about 2 weeks there, my boss made me, well, he fired the guy who did the sausage kitchen before me. He just fired him. Comes to me, had to go in the office, says, well, you're going to be my new supervisor for the sausage kitchen Monday morning. I sent the other guy away. He was in there this week one day, and he done a way better job, and the other guy is just, it's not working with him at all. So you take that over, and you do sausage, and okay. He's pretty young still, 26, and supervisor, always wanted it, but never got it in Switzerland. It's like people been 30 and 40s by the time they get supervisor. So started and took the system out of the 1940s and 50s and made it modern, and stuff I learned from my uncle in Switzerland helped, and stuff I learned from butchering, and took it over. We did 400 pounds of sausage in a week, and a month later I would do 1,000 pounds a day.
Wow.
With the same old machine and antiquated and everything else. I started a book. I measured 10 batches of spice all at once, and then just dumped and had the mixer going and stuffed the sausage all at the same time. And I had one more guy than the guy had before me. And the other thing too, I went to my boss, says I want this fat, I want this quality, I want this and this and this. It's all cheap stuff. You can all buy it for 30 cents a pound. There's plenty on the market. I checked already, and this will make way better sausage than the way you guys do it here. And sharpen the knives and the machines. Like the knives were so dull, like the machines would not work right. So did all that, and doing it. And 6 months later, they pissed me off. So I was so done. It's like literally there was mold on top of the meat, and I said, let's work Saturdays then. Like this is not a situation. And it just was told by my boss, no, it's fine. Yeah. Just scrape it off and put it in some garlic rings, then nobody can taste it with the garlic. It's like, you are an idiot, and I'm out of here. I had enough. Yeah. So I walk out, go to Calgary Stampede. 20 hours later, somebody phones me and says, you want to be a supervisor for me? I hear you quit. We want you. Okay, I doesn't have to apply for a job. I just go and do. So I worked at Red Deer for a year, and this place come up for sale, and I thought, well, with all the mishaps happened before, I think I can run a pretty good butcher shop, because I know all the ways of not doing it. So and then started my own here, bought a place and started it, and met a lot of cool guys, and it was a hard start, of course, it always is, and stick to quality, and I'm doing a good job being on the table every day myself, and that's what paid out in the long run. Yeah.
So what year was that when you bought this place?
That was in 2009.
2009, okay. Yeah. And then I think I met you, is it 2013?
Yeah, something like
somewhere
that,
around there.
I met Blake first, and you talked to Blake. I remember that.
Yeah, because I'd used pretty much every other butcher within 2 hours of my place, and had been screwed over and lied to, and just poor quality and high price, and my friend Blake introduced me to Valentine, gave him a shot, and it was just absolute night and day difference, and the best part of it was you were able to come out and actually harvest the animals on farm, which is what I was looking for. Because we were having really big problems with the stress with our livestock. There's a joke among farmers that our animals only have one bad day, but that one bad day, having to take them to an abattoir, and the stress of traveling down the road, and the mishandling from people that they don't know, and having to sometimes stay overnight in a strange place before the kill day the next day. We were just having terrible, like, the quality was up and down. We get some years the meat was really good, other years the people would have really, really tough steaks, or the flavor was off or something. And I did a bunch of research and realized that it was like so much of the quality and nutrient density of meat is that last day, and how they're treated on that last day. And so we wanted to switch over to harvesting on farm, and yeah, serendipitously we met Valentine, and has this incredible unit with a crane and a pressure washer and you know, stainless steel tank, and was able to do all that stuff that these other abattoirs were, you know, had these probably $1 million facilities at least to,
Yeah.
and you know, you're able to come out on site with all that, like $1 million facility packed onto a, you know, a single trailer, and do it all out in the fresh air, green grass. And from that time forward, we've never had a bad review from a customer since that day.
Yeah. Well, and the difference is for the animal too. It's like, you know, the animal knows you. We did different styles of butchering, but normally you just chase them out and we wait till I can make a clean shot. Like,
Yep.
I don't think there's any incidents yet in your yard, and me and Blake both are the way, like, needs to be right for the animal, not
Yeah.
what is fast as or what's
Exactly.
right for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not.
Because I think you have also responsibility being the one pushing the trigger. You should not push the trigger if you're not sure. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty simple. And two, I mean, it's like somebody puts years of work and genetics and everything else, and then you're the one having the pleasure of harvesting that. That's pretty cool, you know. And you see,
Yeah.
like, not so does your genetics change much, but I butcher for some young guys. I butcher for them now for 12 years, and you see the genetics is improving, and
Yeah.
then it's exciting
Yeah.
for young farmers getting into business, change the genetics, and yeah, it's amazing. It's something, like, you know, how things are, and of course no stress for the animal, just eats his last cut and bang,
Yep.
done. So yeah, and then there's a spiritual aspect too. Me and Blake both, we butcher for we pray for the animal when we butcher. Like, just say, there's an old Indian saying about what you should do. So it's like they believe, and I somewhat believe it the same way. It's like, if he doesn't pray for the animal, the soul doesn't know where to go. And then if you become reckless, what a lot of butchers are, they say they get chased in their dreams by animals because they never,
Interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
like that. It's a spiritual aspect, and we have a little prayer. As mine is like, dear animal, go to heaven and be happy there, and if you so choose, your soul can come back on this farm and being a little farm animal again. You know, like, you just say you can go to the creator's place, and I do think that's the last little dot on the E, so to say. It's like,
Yeah.
just that little bit better than anybody else, because it's like, it's a soul too. It's a living being, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to the creator, or whatever you believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I mean, and that you know, the pride and the respect and the reverence that you bring to all aspects of your work, like it transfers through. You know, when I used to go to other butcher shops, like, just the atmosphere around the people was very dark and negative, and you know, they weren't, like, I always hated going to the butcher shops. I love coming here and you know, chatting with you and the girls in the shop, and everyone here is just happy, even and it's that contrast is so different. And I think it is that aspect of like that pride and reverence that you bring to your work.
yeah. Well, it is too. Like, you know, if you love what you're doing and if you're good on it, and I think that's a human thing too. It's not just what do you call that? You know, there's a difference between a job and if you have a passion for your job.
Yeah.
And I think I have a real passion, and and it goes over to my workers. Most of my workers have a passion for the job. You know, and then you're faster, and you're always want to go to move where it's quality,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
get there.
Yeah.
So.
So I suppose we should tell the story about how we almost shared a prison cell. Is that-
Yeah, that's quite the story. So me and Takota, I guess, not. Well, I mean, I know the rules and regulations exactly. It just so happens not always followed them,
Yeah.
and so we got shut down for butchering
Yeah.
at Takota's farm.
Yeah, that was back in. I was looking today. It was 2018, was when, because yeah, we had been it's in Alberta. It's illegal to, or was illegal to harvest an animal on farm and then sell that to the public. And yeah, both you and I knew that, but we had developed a herd share model where it's it's perfectly legal for a farmer who owns an animal to have that animal harvested on his farm and taken to a butcher shop. That's totally fine. So what I did is I started selling my customers live animals, renting them land, and then as opposed to selling them beef, I was charging them for raising their animal on the land that they were renting for me. And anyways, we had done that for basically from 2013 or 14 until 2018 when government SUV pulled up into my yard and they threatened to fine me for $10,000 or send me to prison, and I basically said bring it on, and then they came to Valentine here and they threatened to shut you down too, and they could easily put a lot more pain towards you than they could me, and so we had to kind of fold. But within, is it 2019, I think we got the petition going, and then by 2020 the laws were changed, and then we started butchering again together in that fall. It was 2020. Yeah. So that was huge. So what can you, like, I know you went to some of those meetings where they were talking about the regulations that we were proposing to get changed. What was that like, or why? Yeah, first off, why were those regulations in place in the first place? Like, why was it illegal to sell animals on farm?
The belief there is, because if there is a meat inspector sees to kill, because there is diseases I doesn't know about and I'm not aware about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only so much you can right? And then then nobody checks for them diseases, right? And I in the meetings too, I said, why you guys doesn't pull us in a inspected facility, 2 or 3 at the time, and we do 3 weeks of butchering, and an inspector shows us what you're looking for. And then in Switzerland they used to have the round stamp, same kind of like we have round, but they had an oval stamp that was the approved meat, and then there was a triangle stamp that was for meat what was usable for farmers but not for sale, and it was even, you could even sell it, but it was not as highly as inspected, so there was a middle way for that. And I always said that there needs to be a middle way. I mean, if by the Charter of Rights we have here in Canada, it's like everybody should choose to eat whatever he wants.
Yeah.
And my argument always was too, like, okay, what if the people sign a waiver saying I trust my butcher.
Yeah, and that's
I trust my farmer,
that's
and
what my customers have done. Yeah.
And that's it. Like, why do the government has to be involved? It should be free choice.
Yeah.
Of course, there's the other side of the meat inspector, but it was very clear at the time, at least. I don't know how it is now. Half of them was ex-RCMPs.
Okay.
Retired RCMP. There was a lot of them, and like that's a known fact. And they even call some that are working still today, they call them the meat cops, because it's just it's not very pleasant to have them in the killing facility. Like, if you inspect it, it was never, they're just not nice people. Just that they had issues with the public as they worked as an RCMP. They retired from it, and then they go and harass butchers or farmers afterwards. So it's not a really win-win. It's just like the government employs every doorknob in the country. If you work for them, I guess you keep working for them.
Yeah,
that's
kind of power hungry.
Yeah, so that's one thing. And I said, like, and they said they're gonna maybe do it or not. The other one was like a live video, quick of the live animal. That was an argument they always had. I said, like, we have the technology, we can send you a video and so on. But then the way it's now, I think it's doable, the way it is, and it's good. So I've been quite happy how it turned out. Not what we discussed at all. Like, we just had several discussions and in the time, and I think the biggest thing was the pressure Takota put on it. Like, I heard a meat inspector was very mad if it just mentioned Takota's name, the head meat inspector, and And he even said, as he was here one time, "You're in bed with him, and the 10,000 emails and that, and there's probably 10,000 email people would be understand IOS arguments about safety of the customers." He was not happy there for a while
No.
because I know there was somewhere around 10,000 emails sent to the
Okay.
Alberta Agriculture's main office,
Yeah.
and they had to do something,
Yeah.
and it was not what the meat inspector suggested.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do think one day there's another renewal. Like there's still tons of things that could be done better yet,
Yeah.
and in alignment to, like, the chapters of rights in Canada, like free speech, religion. Like I doesn't understand why we do all this paperwork. Let's say it's should be ways of done it easier.
Yeah. Well, I just heard I think it's in Vermont, in the States, they just passed a law where basically whatever happens on the farm stays on the farm. And if you're going to sell stuff at farm gate, the government has nothing to do with it. And so there really, I think there are movements towards, if people want to have inspectors to inspect their meat, that's fine. But if people want to take responsibility for themselves and play that role of an inspector and quality certify themselves, they can go to the farm and take on that responsibility.
And two, I don't think one thing as a butcher, what sounds to people very different, as I'm gonna say this, is like I do want to be inspected the 4 times a year. I get inspected right now. Because somebody even needs to slap me on the wrist and say, this could be a little better, or like this paperwork or that, and I'm not against it. Plus, too, if I get the inspection, so some places Takota went to before, what he said the quality was day and night, they get slapped on the wrist too. So I'm perfectly fine with the system of having the facility, and they come in when you're actually working in it and watch you what you're doing. I'm perfectly fine. I think that's a good system, and we need that because it keeps everybody responsible.
Yeah.
I not want to move away from that. I just the freedom of
choice.
shooting your animal in the field, that should be up to me in Takota. Because it could happen. An animal's sick and we kill somebody by accident. That could also happen. But that's kind of like, that's why I would like people save a waiver again,
Yeah. Well,
and on the other hand, I'm pretty sure between me and Takota, if an animal's that sick, that meat doesn't look that good, and you'll probably smell something, or organs would be swollen up so bad you would say, nah,
well, yeah,
I don't know.
Exactly. There's no way that I would ever, ever try to sell that meat to my customers.
That's just it. Like,
and
you would be reasonable and say, like, this is not looking good.
Yeah, and that's why I like, the other aspect of your operation that you started up is the dog food side of your business, where if there ever is an animal that isn't fit for human consumption, you've started a way to still utilize that animal and honor its life and make it go to a productive purpose of creating incredible food for dogs and other animals. So like, when did that start? Because that's a recent kind of iteration of your business here.
So that started last year.
Yeah.
There used to be a big dog food place in Coen, and they burned down to the ground, like total loss.
Yeah.
And then there was a vacuum, and I wanted to sell stuff to somebody versus building it myself, but I figured out, like so many times, even with butchering and everything else, there's so many jerks in the world. The last thing I want to be is jerked around like that. That's just, as older as I get, as less tolerance I have for that.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay, I get half the money what I used to get. I cannot feasibly do that because that would increase the rates of killing. Like we do live from that stuff that comes off the table, and that's also worked in the pricing of the butchering and the processing. And if we doesn't have that money, that we will be $1.40 like everybody else for the quality we do. That costs a lot of money to do that kind of quality. But so then it's like, okay, if you go there, that's not very good. So then it's like, okay, what does it cost making a dog food place? Well, sea can and saw and the grinder. Well, That's 30 grand. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Start and jump in the water. I did that many times. Just jump in the water and learn to swim as you go. And, and my beautiful partner too. I mean, I remember first time he doesn't have enough tripe. And, okay, a pallet of tripe. How's that gonna look like? Yeah, I guess just order it and then we'll deal with it, right? 4 o'clock Wednesday afternoon call comes and that's ready, and went there with my truck and they load this freaking pallet, 2,400 pounds of green wet tripe, and come home and start washing it and everything else. And then the honey comes out and says, do you need help? Yeah, we're only a third into this bin at 6 o'clock, so of course I take help.
Is that the night that you proposed as well?
Well, I said if I had a ring here, I would. I said to her I could cut her a piece of bone for a ring and just auger out the hole in the middle.
Anybody who helps you wash tripe at 6 o'clock at night is a keeper, that's for sure.
So that's another funny episode how it all starts. Like, and that's for everybody young, you know. Everybody thinks they can start a business, but it's you're not gonna go home. Like you're gonna deal with it and you're gonna push.
Your house is literally attached to your butcher shop.
Yeah, but I mean it doesn't always has to be like that. I just say in general in business, people have to push, and otherwise the business doesn't go nowhere.
Yeah, it's hard work.
And everybody thinks, well, let's get a loan, let's get this and that, and it'll work itself out. But it don't. Like it's the guy who puts in the 16-hour days. That's the one that will work out.
Yeah. Well, and thinking creatively, like you were just saying, like because you're able to use other parts of the animals that you're harvesting on farm, like the tripe and I'm probably the weird guy that I actually use all the organs and stuff for my customers, but a lot of other people don't value the organs and the bones, and so you've been able to take that, which is a waste product, and turn it into high quality dog food, which helps you keep the other prices for butchering down. Because like you, no joke, you are the best butcher I've ever used, and you're also the most cost effective butcher I've ever used, which in most places those two things are the exact opposite. And so I think it's really unique what you're doing here, and it's just been an absolute pleasure to be your customer and friend for years, and I hope he keeps threatening me every year. He says I'm done. I'm gonna, because it's a really volatile hard business to work in. I'm sure, and every year he threatens me that he's gonna quit.
Well, that doesn't did this year, no.
No, he didn't. This is the first year. First year.
No, I got very good people. Got some young people, and in a lot of the videos you see Mustafa. We're very glad for him, for a young guy from Africa, and very different, and very new style of butchering. Yeah. And take somebody basically from the street, never hold a knife, and make a pretty decent butcher in a year. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
And if I can find more guys like that, then that will drive businesses. And I do think the world is going a different way, so it will happen.
Yeah. Okay, let's go take a look at your butcher shop and your dog food business.
Sure. Hi, I'm Valentine from G&S Meats. I want to show you guys my butcher shop today. We're just going to walk in there.
How long have you been here, Valentine?
I've been here 13 years.
13 years. Okay, so let's see your facility here.
So what's happened here, my butcher is backing up with the truck, comes home, we winch the beef up here, tail is over there, that green thing there, then it goes in here for 48 hours, 24 hours. I killed 8 yesterday, and so to get the steam out of the animal. Then when the steam is out, we hang it in here for regularly 2 weeks. So that's all the work for the next 2 weeks. Nice and cool, little coal steam, some nice beef, some really nice beef, little heifer. Then we push an animal outside, cut it down in the primals, all your steaks and roasts, put it on the table. Gonna make trim out the meat for hamburger. Over there, dog food bin, there's a lot of stuff you cannot really use, like give people, because in the 2 weeks of the animal hanging, it's drying out. So that's what we make the dog food out of. It's a byproduct. And then of course all the lungs and the hearts and spleen and all that. So yeah, then it gets over here. The girls make nice packages, just like a little baby. Just wrap it nice. Look at how square that is. Good job. Put stamps on it. Then it goes in here. Every customer has his wagon. Everything stays separate. We cut half an animal at the time. Finish the animal, next half, so there's no mix-up. And of course when they come here, every animal gets a tag, so everything is numbered and labeled, and then when the quota is ready, we push out the whole beef and he loads them up. And that's about it for the butcher shop part.
Yeah.
Be back at Cornerstone. We're gonna show you guys what is in a beef blend. The only difference between the beef and the chicken is there would be carcasses of chicken in the chicken blend, but that's what is basically the ingredients of all our batches, or as their blends. So we have some nice meat. Mostly it's Holstein, or we get a lot of injured cows too, or then that meat scraps from the butcher shop from dried out. But we're gonna we mix because we want some nice lean meat and some nice meat from the butcher shop, because this is pretty nice from the Holstein. But just like nature is, it breaks a leg and it has to be utilized. We utilize them. But I think it's a very ethical way to get your dog food. Then we have kidneys, beautiful beef kidney, and there's liver goes in it, and some spleen, some tripe.
And what's tripe if folks have never heard of it before?
Tripe is the inside of your stomach. It's basically the stomach. It's little liners, so that takes your mineral, your nutrients out of your food. And what is really interesting with that's like in nature too. An animal, a wolf will kill an animal and would eat the tripe first, and then the spleen and liver and heart. They eat all that, and they eat the meat too, but there's a lot of nutrients in the tripe because it's also sand going through the animal, and salts, and so there's a lot of iron in the liver and some other good stuff in the heart. Trichian, I think it's called. This is one in the heart. It's an animal likes too, and then the lung is just, they eat it. It's not much nutritional value, but it's a filler, and if you just take meat, your animals would get pretty fat pretty quick. And then we add on some bone content in form of brisket bone.
Perfect. And then what are these other two here people aren't familiar
That
with?
was spleen, and that's heart and lung. And yeah, we try like just the way it is.
Yeah.
It's fresher, it's better. I mean, we care for what we're doing. We don't like any stinky stuff or like anything borderline. We're not here to poison animals. Like, I don't know, sometimes I see stuff other people do and I wonder why not doing it fresh. Like, get it done. It's better for the animals, and the employees are working with it easier too.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we're in the shop right now, and it doesn't smell funky at all. It's nice.
Yeah.
So all this then, once all this stuff gets cut out, what do you guys do with it then?
Well, then it's goes in the mixer. So this is all pre-grind. So here it's meat, and then you guys see that's meat from the shop. That's meat from the Holsteins. That's ground tripe. That's ground liver, and this is the bone content. And then it all gets dumped in the grinder. see here is we had some tongues too, so they're not getting wasted either because hardly nobody other than Takota eats tongues anymore.
Okay, yeah, so then you mix it all up there?
Yep.
Wow. I'm amazed that like there's literally no smell.
Oh, there's
I mean,
very
like it's,
little smell.
It's like 30 degrees outside and...
Well, dude, there's not much flies for what we're doing.
No.
There's none in here. It has to do like even if it's dog food, still you have to clean just like in the butcher shop.
Yeah.
Use stuff up. But
okay, so yeah, then it all gets ground.
yeah.
This is just the regular grind. There's a fine grind as well.
Okay.
For like puppets or really tiny dogs.
And then it's better mixed, right? Because there was some in the bottom of the grinder. But
Okay, yeah.
yeah, and that's.
Yeah. And so yeah, then from
pack
there.
it down, and then gets frozen. All our blocks have like what it is. This is a beef. That means chicken beef blend.
Yeah.
And then double B means beef blend, and if there's nothing in the block, that's a chicken block. And so yeah, the boys will pack it down, freeze it, and then 2 days later we're gonna start using it. We're on a turnover in about a week. Like we always like some extra stuff in the sea can for breakdowns and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome.
We're gonna show you cut sizes. We do different things. We do 1 pounders, and then we do a half a pound. It's like about a half a pound. We have to understand we have to freeze them so that some of them will be a little shabby, and then we call it 2 by 2 cubes, and that's for the little dogs. So you know, when you have like a little dog that fits in a purse, that's probably all you're gonna eat in a day. And if you have your great big German Shepherd like Takota is, you need a big piece of meat.
Yeah, these are the ones that our German Shepherds eat. They love them.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. Make sure the books are equal. As everybody can tell, due to the way it is, I mean, environmentally way more friendlier than plastic or what everybody else is doing, but you're always going to have a beginning piece of a block and then nice middle pieces and then end pieces. So there's a little bit of a difference, but some days the dog maybe gets a little more and other days a little less, and just yeah, give them the next day, give them 2 pieces if you have to. It's just that's sometimes what people complain about, the different shapes, but it is what it is. It freezes, and that's the best we can do. And yeah, but there's no plastic wrapper around it. It's not, we're gonna kill the earth with a bunch of plastic what is not needed. So yeah.
And so, and then how many what size bags do you sell them in?
We sell them in 20 pounder and 40 pounders.
Nice.
And yeah, they're available on Cornerstones, Meats and Bones, .ca.